Welcome, everybody, to the City of Farmers Branch study session for Tuesday, August 20th. Before we get started with our citizen comments, I would like to let council know a couple of things, changes moving forward. Everything we do, not only in this room, but also downstairs, is on TV. And I don't know what it is, but I've had some members of the public reach out to me and express concern about some of our habits. And so moving forward, I am going to suggest, highly urge council, no cell phone use during this meeting and no cell phone use at meeting downstairs. I understand that folks have businesses to run, but we've dedicated the time to be here, and it is distracting. It's distracting for viewers that are watching the meeting, so they don't feel as though we are paying attention. We've all been guilty of this, including myself, so the point's very well taken. I will excuse the city attorney and city manager and staff from that because they do have to communicate with their departments while we are working. So that's number one. Number two is eating during council meetings. No more eating at the dais. Again, I'm just as guilty of that when we have cookies. I've usually got them down there in front of me, but again, folks feel as though it is disrespectful and that we're not paying attention when we're doing that. If we need to take a break, anytime I think we're going to go over 2 hours, I will definitely schedule in an automatic break. If you think we need to break sooner than that, just say so, and we will take a break or a 5-minute recess, whatever, to get snacks, whatever. So I just wanted to make that clear. So having said that, our first order of business this afternoon is citizen comment at study session. And let me just tell for our folks that are here and maybe here for the first time this afternoon, when I call your name, please come up to the podium up here to front, speak clearly into the microphone, state your name and address, and then you will have 3 minutes to address the council. Please be courteous and cordial. Refrain from any disparaging or inflammatory remarks directed at any member of city council, staff, or a board or commission. If we feel like you're getting out of line, then I will stop you and address it. So, our first speaker this afternoon is Carol Smith. And again, your time will start when you get up to the microphone and announce yourself. Carol Smith. And just to speed things up, Danny Gilbreth will be next if you want to come up and line up. And then Bob Hatfield. So those will be our first three.
I'm Carol Smith. I'm here in Carrollton, and I'm here to support the Blooming Bluegrass Association and all of the associations, people who dearly love to come to the event, and it's I'm sorry.
It's okay.
It is a growing, bluegrass is growing a lot. A lot of clubs are being formed and they're becoming larger. And we have more and more people who are coming in from other areas to join these clubs, and they would like to come and enjoy the Blooming Bluegrass. I talk to a lot of people at different events that we go to, and then it's just exciting to see, and all the young people who are coming in and joining our our clubs and enjoying the Bloomin' Bluegrass. They go up on the stages there that are provided for them at the park, and they come and they tell us because we have a booth there. And so they are always coming and telling us that how much they enjoy coming to that event each year. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Danny Gilbreth.
Hello, I'm Danny Gilbert. I'm from Crowley, Texas. My first experience with Bloomin' Bluegrass was in 2016 when Alan invited us to come to the festival. I'd never known anything about bluegrass. My son, he told us he wanted to play the banjo in 2016, and we knew nothing about bluegrass. This is the first festival we ever came to, and it was an amazing experience. It changed our life. There's people in this room that I've developed relationships from this festival that are lifelong relationships that I've never had in my life. There are also relationships that I've seen built through this festival over the years. I've seen kids grow over the past 8 years from this festival, getting instruments in their hands and seeing them go from not being able to play to getting on stages and playing with bands. My son was 12 years old at the time. He's 20 years old now, and he's recording his first album this weekend, his first full-length bluegrass album from this festival. I believe that this is the greatest festival in Texas, and I want you please to consider continuing this because it does have an effect on people's lives. It has an effect on, I'm a director with the Paluxy River Bluegrass Association now. Never would have told me I would do that. I was in a band for 2 years with my son. You never could have told me I would have done that. So please consider voting to keep this festival. Thank you.
Thank you. And also, let me just say for the record, Councilman Jackson is with us virtually. I forgot to announce that earlier, so thank you for being here. Bob Hatfield, then Shirley Owens will be next.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Bob Hatfield. I live in North Richland Hills, and I'm second vice president over the Southwest Bluegrass Club. I certainly hope you will reconsider Blooming Bluegrass because I travel nationally, and their reach is further than you think. But if you look back in this back row back here, these folks represent a large geographic area of the bluegrass community. And it would be a shame to stop something that is growing community. And Danny said that, or Connie said that bluegrass is growing. Bluegrass is growing really, really quickly in North Texas. With all of the folks that are moving here from other parts of the country where there are these massive festivals, Blooming Bluegrass is the potential massive festival with lots of people coming into Farmers Branch. So I'm going to ask you, as far as from me and I think the Southwest Bluegrass Club, please continue that support. Should you not do that, please at least look at a proposed summer replacement festival. There are all kinds of festivals that go on in ski resorts and places like that during the winter, but people in Texas, as you know right now, we need a relief from the heat, especially bluegrassers, and we just love those hotel things where hundreds and thousands of people come. So thank you, and I'll yield back my time.
Thank you. Next up is Shirley Owens, followed by Danny Logan.
Good afternoon. I'm Shirley Owens. I live in Sherman, but I have supported all things bluegrass in the Metroplex for over 30 years. In fact, I believe I'm the oldest living bluegrass groupie in existence. I have traveled all over the country to many, many bluegrass events, from Wintergrass in Tacoma to IBMA in Raleigh, even the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. And I'll say that the Blooming Bluegrass Festival, sponsored by the City of Farmers Branch, equals or surpasses anything I've ever experienced. This is further validated by the fact that Blooming Bluegrass will be presented with the Distinguished Achievement Award at IBMA in Raleigh in September. Pretty darn nice. We don't want to bask in our past glories, and we understand that the festival may take a different tone, but we really would love to see this noteworthy event continue and flourish as a Farmers Branch Bluegrass Festival. The City of Farmers Branch is to be commended for its excellence in promoting this event for the past 15 years. And in turn, we believe the bluegrass community has provided substantial return on the city's investment. We respectfully request your continued sponsorship of this event. Thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you very much. Danny Logan.
I appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to us.
Name and address.
My name's Danny Logan. I'm from up near Sherman. One thing you may not realize about bluegrass people is that they're very dedicated and very loyal. All these people that are speaking, the first event that goes on our calendar is Bloomin' Bluegrass, and then we put the lesser holidays like Christmas and Thanksgiving, 4th of July on our calendar. People come from a long distance. We've met people that have flown in from California. Of course, we always have people from all over Texas and Oklahoma and Arkansas and Kansas, New Mexico. And these people come back repeatedly. There's people, friends I have in Houston and Austin and San Antonio that I don't see all year, but I know every year they're going to be here. And they come back year after year. And if they don't come for some reason, I get on the phone and call them. So, like I said, bluegrass people are very dedicated. They keep coming back. Another thing is that we spend a lot of money here. I live up close to Sherman, but we'll get 2 or 3 nights in the hotel. And a lot of my friends from up in Sherman, McKinney area, even though it's a 45-minute drive, we'll still spend 2 or 3 nights in the hotels. And then we visit. See, have you been to that barbecue place over there? No, there's another barbecue place over here. And I couldn't begin to tell you how much money I have spent in Farmers Branch in the last few years. I can tell you how much in Dallas, and that's zero, and Garland is zero, but I couldn't begin to tell you how much money we've spent here in Farmers Branch. Another thing is that we talked to our friends about it. Said, hey, have you been to that Bluegrass Festival? Have you been to Blooming Bluegrass and Farmers Branch? I said, no. I said, man, you really got to go to that. And so even people that haven't been here, we talk to them. I've got more people that haven't been here. 2 of my friends from up there around Sherman are coming this year. They already got their reservations and everything. And one advantage that you have is that your city staff is just like a family. We visit with them, and they're all so friendly. They never complain, and we see the same people year after year. And so your staff gives Farmers Branch a really good reputation. We talk about the people that we meet that work for you, and you're very blessed to have some good people. I used to work at the fire department around here, and it wasn't that way there. So your people give visitors a good impression. And then when people get ready to retire to be close to their grandkids, when they've been here or they've heard us talk about Farmers Branch, they may not know where Coppell and Louisville is, but people in California know where Farmers Branch is. So I realize it's a big expenditure for you, but don't underestimate the good that it does for you. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. We'll be sure to call you for our next promo video. All right. Glenda, is it Martin?
Yes, it is.
Okay, Glenda Martin, then Catherine Dodson.
Hi, I'm Glenda Martin, also known as, I just want to put a little peg in on bluegrass. I'm part of the Southwest Bluegrass Club, which is it is the oldest known bluegrass club in the state of Texas, and we are celebrating our 50th anniversary this year. With that being said, we have 162 members and still growing. Demographics are changing in bluegrass. Used to be all the older folks, now we've got young kids and them growing up. And with the Blooming Bluegrass, we come out and help support that by encouraging others, which has grown all over the Metroplex, state of Texas, all over. Just, you've heard it all just about, and I couldn't say any more to that, but I do want to say that because of the Blooming Bluegrass, we're growing in this area. And I want to encourage you to keep that going because, how do you say this? Farmers Branch is now put on the map from all over. And our genre is important to us, and it's growing in Farmers Branch, and that's what's bringing it out. So I hope to say that that you'll look at that and realize that there's a lot of us here that's special and dear to our hearts, is that Blooming Bluegrass Festival. So I couldn't say any more than what you've already heard, other than we appreciate all that y'all have done, and especially the staff out there. They've just been really good. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Catherine Dodson. Followed by Kurt Green.
There's been so many beautiful remarks about what this festival means, and I agree with all of them. It's been an incredibly powerful event to come to year after year. And I do want to say thank you so much to Farmers Branch for supporting us for 15 years. It's special to our bluegrass community for many reasons, the first of which is it's one of the most fun festivals that you can imagine. It's family-oriented, it welcomes people of all ages, and it brings together our local community, both of amateur musicians as well as Grammy-winning artists coming from across our nation. Music isn't just fun, it's a powerful driver of community health. Research shows that community music activities benefit emotional, psychological, and social dimensions of well-being. Music, and especially music activities where we participate and create the music, impact our self-esteem, impact our sense of meaning, our social engagement, and our community bonds, as well as boosting our mood. But of course, the festival is also good for economic health. Events like this bring in tourists from across the nation. They foster the growth of our community, and they bring in thousands of visitors to this particular festival. It fills hotel rooms and fills our restaurants, and we really, really hope that we can continue to be supported. And I apologize, I don't think I introduced myself at the beginning. My name's Catherine Dodson, I'm from Dallas.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Kurt Green. And again, please state your name and address.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name's Kurt Green. I'm from Flower Mound. I am the current president of the Southwest Bluegrass Club out of Grapevine. Like Glenda said, we've been around 50 years, so we've hosted a lot of festivals and jam sessions all over North Texas, but nothing like the Blooming Bluegrass Festival that you guys put on. As Ms. Owens said, you're going to receive the Distinguished Achievement Award from the International Bluegrass Association. All of us Texas bluegrassers applauded when we heard that because we've been voting for that for years now. It's just the greatest thing in Texas as far as bluegrass. We get to see the top acts in bluegrass. Otherwise, we'd just be seeing local regional bands, which are great. There's some of them here today. But I wanted to say, congratulate you guys on the great job you've done with this festival. And the idea of bringing about a new one in July-August timeframe for the Farmers Branch Bluegrass is wonderful. Most of the festivals are either late fall or spring, so there's nothing going on in July-August. And I think Danny may have said, yeah, we get tired and need something to do. Mr. Logan said that he comes down from Sherman and gets a hotel room. I only live 10 minutes away. And I get a hotel room because bluegrass pickers, after the show, they go in the hallways and they pick till 2 in the morning. And my wife does not like me driving home at 2 in the morning, so we always get a room over here at the hotel. So I want to encourage you guys to vote yes to continue with bluegrass here in Farmers Branch. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Scott Owen, followed by Riley Gilbreth.
Hello, my name is Scott Owen. I'm from Garland, and like Kirk, I'm not very far away either, but I've already got my rooms reserved. So although I do software by trade, but most of my friends that I engage with on a regular basis know me as a musician or lover of music. And the friends I engage with the most, that's how they know me. I like to share music, teach, and some of these friends that I'm speaking of, they're local, and we do that on a regular basis in our communities. But a lot more of those friends are not local, as some others have said. I've met a lot of people from hundreds, if not over 1,000 miles away at this festival that come back every year. And these are people that share the same passion for music that many of us in this room do. They're dedicated to enriching the lives of others through whether it's educational opportunities or just through, demonstration of their music. Bluegrass community is rooted in the diverse exploration of music through fellowship and support of one another. I'm very grateful for the community that I've become a part of here in Farmers Branch, and owe that thanks to the City of Farmers Branch and the Bluegrass Heritage Foundation, because the Blue and Bluegrass Festival was able to attract so many music lovers from across the nation to one place, so that the spirit of that inclusive fellowship of music could really resonate in the historic park and into the night in the hotel afterwards. Music is an integral part of our lives, and the support from the city's Farmers Branch to bring in nationally recognized Grammy Award-winning artists has certainly been crucial to bringing all these people together from all over the nation to continue to build this enriching environment that was created over 15 years ago as part of this festival. So I do really hope that we can continue this in this city where we've been bringing people together for so long. And can't remember who said it before, but people in this bluegrass community, I'll say, definitely do know the name Farmers Branch, and they know where to find us every year. So please vote yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up is Riley Gilbreth, followed by April Sellers.
Howdy, my name is Riley Gilbreth. I'm from Crowley, Texas, and Blooming Bluegrass has just impacted my life in such a tremendous way. My dad said earlier, the Bluegrass Heritage Foundation got me a banjo when I was 12 years old, and I'm 20 now, and it's just been a great thing because that was the first Bluegrass Festival I ever went to, and just the progress from the first time I went there to now is just crazy to me, and how God's worked in my life. And to go from that, just playing banjo, to now playing on the grassroots stage out there, and the staff there always being so helpful and everything. And not only has it impacted me, but since I started playing and now I've gotten to play on the stage, it's kind of had a domino effect. There's been a young man that's came out and saw my band play and me playing the banjo that he's wanting to start playing banjo now. So it's just really great what this festival does for young people like myself, because this genre of music is a really old genre of music that's kind of dying out, and we're really trying to keep it up and revive it. And I think it's working with the help of Blooming Bluegrass because of how big a festival it is, and it's one of the biggest ones in Texas, if not, the area. And I tell everybody I know about it whenever they ask about a festival in Texas or in the area. Friends from Missouri and Tennessee, they're always looking for festivals to go to, and I tell them, well, Blooming Bluegrass, it's a great festival, great bands, great picking going on, fellowship, And, it's not too expensive. It's a great price, and the hotel is always great to us. And I've always appreciated everything the staff has done. Like I said before, it's always great hospitality and everything. And I just hope that y'all will consider that we continue this festival, or maybe one prior to the summer time. And we thank y'all for everything. Thank you.
Thank you. April Sellers.
Hi, I'm April Sellers. I live in Carrollton. I'm a mental health therapist there and do bluegrass for fun on the side. My husband is a orchestra teacher in the Carrollton Farmers Branch School District, has been for several years. I'm actually kind of new to playing bluegrass. I think I heard bluegrass music the first time when I was 20, and I didn't realize that people still played it. I thought it was really cool, so I just listened to CDs. And then I've done singing on the side for years. And then a couple years ago, my husband and I got approached by a friend of a friend to come join a bluegrass band, and we did, and it's been awesome. We do a lot of gigging with them, and it's interesting because I'm in my 40s, and I'm one of the oldest in the band. Most of the band is in their 20s. Bluegrass is kind of having a renaissance among young people, which is really cool. So this is, I think that's important to keep in mind. This is not, it was dying out, but it's not anymore. I think, one of the things I love about bluegrass too, I think a few people have mentioned, is that it's truly American. It's one of the few genres that was actually created in America from, Irish and English and Scottish and African. The banjo is a West African instrument, basically. There's a lot of cool history there. And I think one of the reasons that a lot of young people like bluegrass music in particular is because it's acoustic, it's very real, and it's, can be really difficult to play. And it's really exciting to have something that, it's not electronic, there's no auto-tuning, it's people up there showing off, basically. It's really fun. And I will say, when we play gigs, a lot of times we're playing somewhere that's not a bluegrass place, it's just a brewery or something. And so the crowd is not necessarily familiar with bluegrass, but we usually end up with people dancing, people coming, commenting afterwards, this is so much fun, I love this, where do you play? So I think bluegrass is it's growing right now. And this festival, I think it would actually not make the most sense right now to end it if we can. If we can keep supporting it. It seems to be growing, especially among the youth. And I'm, just personally, I'm new. This is going to be my first year to get to go, and I really don't want this to be my first and last. So please vote yes. And I know there's some alternatives that have been considered. Please continue supporting this. It's really important. So thank you.
Thank you. That's all I have signed up to speak to Bluegrass. I do have a couple other speakers, but for all you folks that are here for Bluegrass, just know after these other two speakers speak, then I'm going to go to item C6, which is to hear a report on that. So giving Meredith a little warning there. Next up is Cindy Goodspeed. Okay, and then Joseph Fragel.
My name is Joseph Riegel. I live at 13647 Greystone Drive here in Farmers Branch. Several years ago, Sherlock Holmes and his sidekick, Dr. Watson, went on a camping trip. They got to the campsite, set up their tent, went on a long hike, came back to the campsite, cooked their food for dinner, and then they went to bed exhausted. After a while, Holmes woke up, and he shook Watson and said, "Watson, look up, what do you see?" Well, Watson looked up and said, "Oh, I see a shooting star and marvelous stars all over the place. It's marvelous." "Holmes, what does this mean to you?" "It means that someone has stolen our tent." In looking at the budget, one of the things I did not see was any reference to the bond elections. A year ago, there was a 2-cent tax rate decrease. Appreciate that. Followed that up with a bond election because we didn't have enough funds to do everything we wanted to. And now we're proposing a 2.75-cent tax rate reduction. My question is, there's going to be a bond election next year. If there is it prudent really to reduce our revenues even more by giving 2.75 cents back to the city, to residents? And if we don't have a bond election, then I'm all in favor of it. I'll take the 3 cents. But thank you all. You're public servants, and I appreciate every one of you. You're doing great, hard work, low pay, and I thank you, and I appreciate all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next up is item C6. Discuss moving the Bloom and Bluegrass Festival to an indoor facility and city sponsorship opportunities. And I will add that I did receive one letter of support via mail from Jim and Deb Irwin, also advocating for keeping bluegrass.
Hello, Perla Tavera, Director of Economic Development, Tourism and Planning. And when they said city staff, I want to say the tourism team. Meredith is here, but we also have Ann and Nancy, and they are amazing. So no kudos to me. They literally do it all. I just do the presentation. So today we're going to talk about the Blooming Bluegrass Festival. And so this festival started back in 2010. It's been going on usually the third full weekend in October. So this is a fall event, as was mentioned. Last year we had about 4,000 attendees. We were able to place it there all the way from Florida, Virginia, Louisiana. About 80 bands have been featured across the main stage. I apologize, I know none of these bands, but I am looking forward to the bluegrass this year. They will be presented, and we have some of the park staff going to North Carolina on the 26th for the Distinguished Achievement Award. So what we're presenting today is a tourism incentive out of the Hotel Motel Fund. It would be a 3-year sponsorship, which aligns with the hotel agreement for the Bloom and Bluegrass. And it's bringing it indoors, and we're changing the date for end of July, early August, as mentioned, because there's really not that many events going on for the city, and it's still going to bring more individuals here. So if you guys, I'm asking for council direction to allow us to bring forward for the next meeting a 3-year agreement with the Bloom and Bluegrass for $50,000 each year. So if there's any questions,
Thank you. Council, any questions? I'll start with Councilman Jackson.
No questions at the moment, Mayor. Thank you.
You're welcome. Councilman Baird.
No questions, thank you.
Councilman Reed.
Just quick, do we have a history on how, it seems like attendance has grown over the years? Do we have a track record? If you don't have it,
we do. So actually in 2017 was the largest event. It was 10,000. So as of last year, it's 4,000. So it's fluctuated. COVID, of course, was its lowest. But so it just depends on apparently the heat and the time. But I will say 2017 was by far the largest attendance.
Okay, so there is a great potential there as well.
Correct.
So it's not like 4,000 is the max. We've had much more.
We've had more prior, correct.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Councilman Roman.
Yeah, I just wanted to first thank also the Parks and Rec staff, because I think part of their team also works in making sure that the historical park is well put together for all of the ongoings of the Bluegrass Festival. But no questions other than that statement.
I agree, as well as Public Works, facilities. It's a whole city staff, not me. They've all done it before.
Councilman Neal.
Yeah, I just echo Councilman Roman and City Manager and all of your staff for this Blooming Bluegrass Festival. I'm an advocate for the Bluegrass Festival. I'd like to see us keep it. I would have hoped to have heard a little more comments regarding moving it to an indoors. I kind of like the outdoors, but I understand there's some costs involved with that. So those are only really comments that I have at the time.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm just going to say the event's a fantastic event, and it's even better when weather cooperates. Unfortunately, it's not always 73 degrees when we have it, so it can get sometimes pretty brutal out there, a little damp sometimes. But this is a great event. For all the folks who came and spoke today, thank you for taking the time to do that. I certainly appreciate that, and I'm speaking for the whole council. I know we all appreciate you coming. We appreciate you coming and spending money in our city. please spend some more. We are open for business. And we'll be taking action later, but I don't have any questions. So I'm just excited about the new opportunity that awaits this event. And I look forward to being at the IBMA to be part of the acceptance team.
So this is asking for direction to come back with that 3-year incentive agreement.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yes. Meredith, you have anything you want to add? Okay. All right. Well, seeing anything else, we'll move forward in that direction.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. I'll say for anybody who came to speak about Bluegrass, unless you want to stay and see government at work, you're free to go, but we would love for you to stay also. So I'll give you a second to leave. Thank you all for coming.
We were wrong. We blew that, didn't we?
Thank you for your time.
Let that be a lesson to us. Can't predict this kind of stuff.
Thank you. Be careful going home. All right, next up is item C1, discuss regular agenda items. Councilman Roman?
Yeah, I wanted to see K7 move to the regular agenda.
Which item?
K7. And that's it.
Item K7 will move to regular agenda and become M4. Okay? Councilman Reed?
Nothing.
Very good. Councilman Baird?
Nothing?
Councilman Neal?
I have a question regarding K2. For the vacant buildings, just a question, does that include vacant lots as well? If there's no home on, just a clarification for that, does that include a vacant lot as well?
Christina Rainhill, Code Enforcement Manager, no, that does not include vacant lots, that's just for vacant buildings. So an actual building needs to be on the lot.
I think that would be a separate discussion.
Yeah, okay, so.
Okay. Okay. Councilman Jackson?
No questions, Mayor.
Thank you, thank you. Next up, C2, receive a presentation from Encore to provide an overview of services to the City of Farmers Branch.
So, Mayor and Council, our next, Mayor and Council, our next presentation will be given by Encore Area Manager Keita Hobbs. Encore does come once a year to give us just an update. Keita. Sorry. I'm gonna pull up your presentation for you. There we go. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Keita Hobbs, Area Manager. I know we had a lot of Bluegrass fans in, but they were also Encore customers. So I was hoping they were going to stay to learn a little bit more about us, but hey.
You need them to use electric guitars instead of banjos.
Well, just hearing all the areas they were coming from were all in our service area. So you can never find out too much information about Encore. But again, Mayor, Council, City Management, and staff, thank you guys for just giving me the opportunity to be here. I know a few of you council members I have not had a chance to meet or work with before, so I look forward to working with you going forward. And for the sake of time, I'm not going to rush through it, but I'm not going to touch on every point because I know that you guys have other things you have to get to. So a little bit about Encore. So as you can see here, Encore is the largest regulated transmission and distribution utility, TDU, that operates in Texas. We are regulated by the Public Utility Commission of Texas, the PUC, and the Electric Reliability Council of Texas. We're basically your poles and wire company. We don't own or generate or produce or sell any type of electricity. As you can see on the right-hand side of the slide, it's pretty much just an example of what the ERCOT market structure looks like. You have your competitors, generators, the regulated portion, which is us, Oncor, the T&Ds, and then the competitive, which is your retail electricity providers like your Direct Energies, your Reliance. Where we serve, just like I was talking about the service territory. So as you can see, we serve over 13 million Texans, which is fastly growing. We're in 98 counties, 400 communities like Farmers Branch, 141,000 miles of transmission and distribution lines, 3.9 million advanced meters and increasing every day. And we have 4,500 plus employees across the state. Like I talked about on the map, that's our service territory. Again, we are the largest in Texas. And so we go all the way up to the Panhandle, east all the way over to Tyler. You see that we go south down to Round Rock and then over into Odessa and Midland. So supporting growth in the Lone Star State, as we all probably know, we have, about 1,000 people coming to our area easily a day. And so what Texas is known for is actually being the largest producer than any state of electricity. We're actually twice the size of Florida, what we produce. And you can see the examples of all of the generation and solar and what we do as far as makes us the largest producer. Oncor service area includes 3 of the top 15 fastest growing cities and 4 of the top 4 of the top 10 fastest growing counties in America in the past decade. Community partnerships. This is something Oncor really focuses on in those 400 communities. You will see the economic development. We have comprehensive business site selection services. We support community economic development efforts. Actually had lunch with Perla today, just having her get familiar with our economic development managers. And we do provide online tools that she's aware of that we're going to implement that can really help the City of Farmers Branch highlight what they do on the economic development aspect. Another part of how we partner with our communities, you can see all these different organizations and activities that we participate in. One thing I really love about my company is that we're really big on the Heart Walk. So it's something my family, my kid, everyone looks forward to every year. And you'll see also we have memberships with Chambers of Commerce, of course, Metro Crest Chamber, which I've been on the board and we've served within the community. We do also support nonprofits. After COVID-19, we donated $1.7 million to nonprofit organizations, Metro Crest Services being one of those, and we also are a community partner with Metro Crest Services. So we make sure that in every community that we're in, we try and make sure that we have a partnership with that community. Safety and education. This is a program that we actually implemented and probably about 6 years ago. Unfortunately, there was a tragedy where kids were impacted by electricity, and so we made a point to help bridge the gap in electric safety and education for Texas schools. So what we did was we started the Super Safe Kids program. It's a traveling show that teaches students about electricity safety. We've touched over 105,000 students and across 24 school districts. And the great thing is we actually just finished up in CFB ISD in the spring. So that was a very good thing that we brought to the community. You'll see also at the bottom, we partner with PBS Kids and we aired 3 animated public service announcements about electricity. And we also offer online resources to parents and teachers and students just to provide additional safety tips to further educate them on how to be safe around electricity. And I believe that slide probably should have went with the first one, but we're still growing in Texas, so we might as well continue the conversation. So Oncor has invested billions of dollars across its service area to build, upgrade, and operate a safer, smarter, more reliable electric grid. In the past 3 years or so, I believe we actually did a rebuild of one of our transmission a few of our transmission towers over there by the Star Center. So that kind of shows that we've kind of made sure that we touched Farmers Branch in some of our upgrades, and that goes into some of the things we've done. 10,000 miles of new and rebuilt transmission and distribution lines. We've done 355,000 new customer connections and have more than 200 new substations across his service area. Again, the challenge of your growth, you're going to have to support your growth because that means more power. Encore's CapEx plan includes $19 billion in investments over the next 5 years. These capital expenditures are expected to be used for investment in transmission and distribution infrastructure, including investments to support system growth, reliability, and resiliency. Encore also focuses on making appropriate and necessary investments in an efficient and cost-effective manner. So one thing I like to always do is just really kind of educate people on how outages happen. It's not always whenever it is raining and storming outside. You'll see the three major causes for outages are trees, lightning, and wildlife. You'd be really surprised that the wildlife, especially squirrels and snakes, they love all of our transformers. They love anywhere. If it's cold, they want to get to where they can get hot. And of course, they get hot. And then also they can bite on our cables. So there's a lot of outside factors that impact, even on a blue sky day, that can cause an outage. Here's just an example and another reason why we trim our trees. And we actually are going to be, if we have not yet, and I think within the next couple of weeks, we'll be trimming here in Farmers Branch. But as this is an example of how one tree can make a difference all the way from the substation down to where you're at the residence. And one tree can cause an electrical fault that can interrupt an entire circuit from the substation, interrupting services to schools, homes, signal lights, all of that. Again, this is why we really stress the importance of making sure we keep all of our communities on a 3 to 5 year cycle of our feeders. What I try and do whenever we're going to be in Farmers Branch, I always make sure I inform all the city staff and just let them know exactly where we're going to be. So in case there are any questions from residents, they're not caught off guard. Year-round seasonal weather preparedness. I think this is really important just so everyone understands that what we do is on a consistent basis. And so we go into year-round planning in anticipation of any potential seasonal impacts, and summer or winter preparations are always implemented months before hot or cold seasons even arrive. For examples of things that we do during this time, we inspect all of our electrical facilities. This is in addition to just the regular schedule inspections that we have in maintenance, but we do have a troubleman go out and just really look and see if we can identify any opportunities. We do forecasting and predictive analytics, and that also lets us identify if there is any load that we can actually upgrade or replace, and just in case we can see any potential failures. We also have operating centers update contingency plans and for severe events, and we also go through a lot of major training sessions to prepare all of our personnel. And then another thing is material inventory and contract resources are reviewed. And so we just want to make sure that we're aware of what we have as resources when it comes to transformers, switch gears, whatever it may be, just to ensure we're prepared. Another part of this, Encore remains in compliance with the PUC, with the weatherization rule. Also, Encore's standard weatherization procedures also remain in compliance with the 2011 FERC and NERC recommendations. And Encore completes an annual review of critical loads list. And so I work closely with John Roach when it comes to reviewing what the city has identified as critical load and ensuring that Encore has an updated list. And then during Winter Storm Uri, which I really hate to say that name, but after receiving more than customer calls over 2 days during that storm than what we even received in the previous year, we decided to strengthen our communications channels. So we really worked with our telecommunications partners just to make sure they harden their systems to avoid a situation like that in the future. Also, just to note on this, we are in the high heat preparation mode. So some things that we have done whenever we know that we're going to have consecutive 100-degree weather, I work with CFB ISD to see if we need to utilize one of their stadiums, so that's Standard Stadium, that we will actually have coordination. Just make sure if there's a major outage with this heat, because you have to think about with the heat, our equipment is exposed to 100-degree weather and still working, never getting a break. And as you can imagine, that can have an impact on any facility. So what we try and do is just make sure that we're prepared. We do all of the weather preparedness, but also if it does come to a major outage event, we have a staging area already set in mind. So we have one here, and then we have another in Mesquite, just to make sure we're all prepared. Now, I mentioned the critical load, and just something I'd like to make sure that all residents understand just what this means. And so with the critical load, I'll go ahead and just read this. The customer protection rules of the PUC provide that certain customers may be eligible for designation as critical care or chronic condition customers, that's residential, or a critical load public safety or critical load industrial customer, that is non-residential. One important note to remember on this is that this does not mean that you will never get your power uninterrupted. It is more that we have identified that this is a critical load, so when we go into restoration mode, we prioritize in that manner. But it doesn't mean that you won't lose power. It doesn't mean that even as a critical care customer, we also ask that you make sure that you have other options of backup capabilities or other places to go just in case you lose power. So we want to make sure that we're very clear on that. You can find that information in the application for the chronic condition and critical care at the PUC. And also you can go online with Encore.com and we make sure we have that information for you. Connect with Encore. As you know, these are all the many ways that you can connect with us. One thing we did just recently implement was Sarah, the virtual assistant. We do still have the My Encore app. We're trying to find as many ways that we can to reach customers. We understand that sometimes there are generational gaps as well. And so what we want to do is try and find every avenue to make sure when we're having those outages that we have a way to update customers. They have a way to get in contact with us. On the, if you sign up for the text app, I encourage everyone to do that. We actually send you proactive communications. So if you're out and you're out to dinner and you don't even know your lights are out, we're going to send you a notice and say your lights are out, but this is the time you can expect for them to be back on. So we really try to make sure we're proactive, and as well as you see that we do have an outage map that you're able to look and see. I think it's important to remember about the outage map because a lot of times we are in our own silos. So when there's a major outage and you think, maybe my street's the only one out. And then you're able to look on here and see, no, my street included with 20,000 other people are out. It kind of brings it into perspective. Again, just join the conversation, going back to some of those same platforms. One important thing I like to mention is the wire. I believe in some communications that I've sent to you, council and staff. During some of those major events, we always update the wire. It's like our newsroom. And so that's where our communications are going to go and let you know exactly what we're doing at that time. And so we always try and encourage cities to post it, or we encourage all staff to go back and make sure you just kind of look at it during those times just to see what Encore is doing. And that is do you have any questions?
Thank you, Keita. Councilman Roman?
Yeah, when you talk about tree trimming, where are you typically doing it, and does that include alleyways?
So with the alleyways, when we go in and do our trimming, we do take any debris that we trim off. This is on our planned maintenance trimming. If we go out during a storm and let's say that we had to cut a limb off of a line just to clear it and get the lights back on, we'll take that with us, right? But if it's already fallen, it's just on the ground, we're not gonna take it. We're gonna leave it there because it's the customer's responsibility to maintain the tree, right? But if we know that that's exactly what caused that outage and we have to remove it, then that's when we will take it with us. I know there was some question some years back about that, and so that is a challenge for us because while that's not our policy to take everyone's, debris, it does cause a challenge for us when trying to restore power in the middle of the night in some of those alleyways that we cannot get into, and so it's just kind of ongoing.
So you do go in there and do some maintenance. You just leave the debris.
When we do the planned maintenance, we take it with us.
Okay.
This is I'm talking about more of the reactive.
Okay.
In the middle of a storm, or if it's just fallen and it's on the ground, we're not going to take it with us. They have a way to identify because they use spray to know which ones we cut ourselves.
Okay. And how often is your planned maintenance?
3 to 5 years. And
Okay.
so they're depending on just which feeders they're looking at for that year and trying to, you can imagine as much territory as we cover, they try and put different feeders. And even with the heat, what we've done recently after the storm is identified a few other feeders that we want to go ahead and try and trim.
Okay. That's it.
Thank
you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Reed?
Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you, sir.
I have no questions.
Very good. Councilman Baird?
Questions?
Councilman Neal?
Yeah, you mentioned 3 to 5 years. Where is Farmers Branch in that 3 to 5 year plan right now? Are we anywhere on the radar in the next?
So you actually, I think, and I'm sorry, I'm going off of memory. I know I just communicated one feeder for Farmers Branch that's coming in maybe in the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Oh, okay.
You can probably have 10 feeders, for example, in one city, and we may do 2 feeders at that year. If we started to see a lot more outages, if we started to see a lot more growth than before, then we will try and push it up on the schedule.
And that's something you communicate to our city staff?
Yes,
that you're gonna
sir.
be in the area, and is there any way that city manager can let us know what areas that's going to be? So if we get calls from our residents, we can inform them or let them know?
Yeah, we'll communicate it to you all, but we also communicate it to the public as well, so through social media, the newsletter, but yes.
Thank you very much.
No
That's all I have right now.
And one important thing also, just when you're talking to residents, to know that whenever we have our crews out there, we have a certified arborist. So a lot of times people are concerned about, maybe it's a tree they've had for a long time. Maybe they're concerned about how we're cutting and what we're doing.
There is some concern about time of year when you want to cut trees because it could introduce disease and whatnot. So
Yes, sir.
it's good to hear you have an arborist involved in that.
We always cut to the life of the tree. So while those Vs are not the most attractive, we ensure that that tree can recover and come back.
Thank you.
Councilman Jackson.
Thank you, Keita, for the presentation. And thinking about updates and upgrades, I know you're adding a feeder that's to accommodate growth and expansion, and new businesses and residences and such. What about the existing neighborhoods, particularly the older neighborhoods where you have lines above running from pole to pole? What I've noticed in my neighborhood in particular, but I'm sure that this exists in a number of other areas, is that there at one time were 3 lines that went from pole to pole, and because of storms and damage and repairs and such, there's now 1 line that runs from pole to pole. Don't know how that impacts power, but it seems like, the new neighborhoods, power's being run underground. I know that the developers have a big hand in that, but are there any plans or potential to upgrade neighborhoods with older infrastructure with newer infrastructure where they're not so subject to storms and varmints and stuff?
Well, and that's a good question. So with the aging infrastructure, you have to think about that's pretty much, that can be anywhere. And so what we try and do when we're doing those resiliency plans and we're going through and being proactive, we're trying to identify if we see a transformer. We'll even do infrared scans. We'll try and identify if we see, okay, this is the time to go ahead and change this out. But you'd be amazed that there are some transformers that have been there for 20 years and who have not had any, major issues. And so I can look into just your neighborhood if you've seen any impacts as far as on your reliability. But when it comes to just going through and saying, oh, that's an old one, we're going to change it, I don't think that's cost effective. It's more of, let me see what works for us right now. And then when we can identify that it needs to be changed out, or if there's issues, or if there needs to be upgrades, then we identify at that time.
Yeah, appreciate that. I wouldn't want my neighborhood in particular to be a focus, as a result of this request. I do think maybe council would find it of interest to maybe see an assessment of Farmers Branch wide, specifically, the age of some of the infrastructure. Because, when there's updates in technology, for example, from cable internet to fiber optic to satellite, the companies come in and update that infrastructure to make those new services and technologies available. And I'm just wondering if that's, something that, Encore does with power in the older neighborhoods.
And I definitely understand what you're saying, but also it goes into just because it's old does not mean it's not working, if that makes sense. And so
nope, understood.
And so we do try and do cable curing. If cable's older, then we're going to, try and do cable curing. We're going to try and do upgrades as much as we see necessary. And so again, it does go into, if we see a neighborhood, while it may have facilities that may be 30 years old, but they might have only had 1 outage in the entire year, that's actually a win, right? And so we really want to focus on the areas that give us the problems that we see if there is a reliability, or if there is an opportunity to upgrade or do anything that we can to kind of minimize the outages.
Right. Okay, understood. Like I said, I think it'd be of interest to see some type of and I'll say summary assessment of Farmers Branch. I'm not looking for, some kind of study. I have seen recently a number of posts on social media about, did your power just go out? Mine went out. Mine's been out for an hour, just flickered, those kinds of things. And I'm sure heat probably has something to do with the more recent posts. But just to know sort of what state is Farmers Branch in would be good to know.
Understood. I think I could probably look at just maybe number of outages that have impacted an area, but to be able to go and see pretty much all of Farmers Branch and see what transformers they've had for 20 years, 30 years, that could be a challenge, but I can talk to my operations and just see if we can find anything if there's a concern to bring up.
Right. And last thing, there's an outage map that residents can go to online to see where outages are and such, right?
That is correct.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's
No
all, Mayor.
problem. And on that outage map also, you can even toggle down even more to even kind of get down to, I think, zip codes. So it can be very specific.
Very good, thank you. Keita, I just had one comment, and that is as Encore reinvests and redevelops service delivery capabilities in Farmers Branch, I would love to see lines buried where appropriate, where it makes sense. So maybe in 100 years, we could rid our city of all the unsightly lines and power poles. That's just a personal request.
Understood. And also,
All right.
I like for everyone to understand when you bury those lines, someone has to pay for
That's
it.
right.
So it's not possible just to bury everyone's lines and then you have someone in El Paso who's paying a rate for someone here in Farmers Branch. But if there's always a conversation that you can have, I know, Mayor, you've experienced that, you can have and find out what the cost is associated with burying everything.
Yes, and I can tell you it's not cheap, having done it. All righty, thank you anything else for Keita? Nope. Thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
coming.
And again, if anyone ever needs me, I am pretty much 24/7. So you all should have my contact information. If you do not, Ben has it and he will send it to you.
Very good.
Thank you.
Mayor, can I just add one comment here? I want to echo that Keita is 24/7. I've had a number of situations where residents have reached out about power concerns or a tree, and Keita has always been very responsive and is very interactive with residents in that regard. So thank you very much, Keita, for that customer service.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Next up is item C3, discuss topics for the proposed fiscal year 2024-25 budget meeting and related timing. You think you can do this in 10 minutes?
Sure. She's a trained professional.
Mayor, City Council, Tammy Zimmerman, Director of Finance, Fleet and Facilities. So we'll quickly go through this. So we are 7 months into our budget timeline with 1 month to go to our goal line. We have tonight's, on the later agenda, our proposed tax rate vote, whether or not we'll have a public hearing with that proposed tax rate. We have next week our budget town hall, and our public information officer, Ashton, will go over, maybe after me, it depends on questions, the format of the budget town hall. We'll go over the trifold. But then in September, we have adoptions of our tax rate, our fee schedules, and our revised and our proposed budget. So again, this just kind of expands what we've been doing. We've been busy this summer. We've had city council workshops, regular scheduled council meetings, or especially called meetings, where we've taken those bite-sized chunks of topics, such as our fees, our debt, our special events, our capital improvement projects, our fixed assets, our tax rate, and our service levels. And again, next week, we will have our budget town hall, and we'll go over that in more detail. So the city council and the mayor provided
much of the direction for this proposed fiscal year budget and some of the themes, and that you'll see on the trifold itself is being a good custodian of taxpayer dollars. And this budget that went out on July 31st, and which is on our website as well online, it had some challenging pieces with an economic downturn showing, and our financials are rising costs from inflation, some of our aging infrastructure and fleet we discussed with debt, and we are having continuing demand for high levels of services. All of that while a top priority of our city council was to provide property tax rate cut for tax relief for our residents and our commercial businesses. So I'm not going to go through each of these bullet points. We did go over it last time. We had also gone over last time in a study session what were some of the items we wanted to communicate in our town hall, in our budget, and getting that message out. We have a trifold, which again, we'll go over here in just a minute, where we have information graphics on there. It's a draft form tonight. Once it's scheduled to go out, we will electronically notify the council, and it will be a first print, hopefully on this Thursday. The themes that were chosen were comparables to other cities, the 2.75 cent tax rate reduction. We have our dollar bill kind of chart breakdown where we're one of several entities that make up your property tax bill. And then we have all of our pie charts that kind of break down into the different departments, what is being spent. And then we have also a breakdown between our commercial versus residential. That's especially relevant when it comes to our property tax rate, as commercial makes up 73% of our property tax revenue. The town hall will be at the Mansky Library, and we'll have boards and easels that the city council will go and present. I know we've had some time to review over the budget that was put out on July 31st. When I first came at the last council meeting, you didn't have but 5 days to review. I've had some council members schedule meetings or have asked questions. Is there anything that I can answer this evening and going forward?
Thank you very much. Councilman Neal?
Yeah, thank you, Tammy. I know you guys are working really hard on this, so I'm very much appreciated. I do have a few questions just to sort of close the loophole on a few things of concern that I have. Could you sort of just highlight for the residents as well as others here that might be watching some of the items that had to be adjusted or gone into to get us to the 2 3/4 cent? Do you have a set of sort of bullet items in any way or a high level?
So we did go through that special called council meeting where we went through and we reduced hours.
Right.
Most of those being with our park facilities, the library as well. We also talked about certain items like a health clinic or some efficiencies that we found. Off the top of my head, I don't have those bulleted.
Okay.
But we did go through, and when we were putting forward the budget, we had in mind that hopefully we could get a 3 cent property tax rate reduction. We did a lot of streamlining, found some efficiencies. We're taking from some of our special revenue funds where we have some of our court fees, or maybe it's our police forfeitures. We're using those for some of our expenses. When the DCAD put out their certified tax values, we were doing a conservative value where we had 10.2 billion in valuations that we had projected. It came in at 9.9. So we had to decrease that proposed tax rate of 3 cents to the 2.75. if that helps.
That helps a little bit. Just to circle back a little bit to some of the reduction in hours for the various facilities. Do we have a breakdown of some of these facilities and what the new hours might look like? And
I'm going to call up
laid
Robert
out?
on that one. He can discuss those for y'all before he gets
Just
up
so the
here.
residents and others can know that.
Go ahead.
Absolutely. Other cuts were the non-bond CIP for parks for 400,000 and the Citizen Collection Center. So those were two of the bigger movements on the budget as well. Rob, please go ahead.
Mayor and Council, some of the hours, and we've already had a couple meetings with Senior Advisory Board and Parks and Rec Board, Parks and Rec Board last week. And so we've gone over some of the schedule with them, and what we presented, this is the hours that council looked at during and I'll make it a little bit bigger. These are some of the outcomes that we had over all those meetings we had over the course of the summer. And we looked at some reductions. We've got our current hours here, and we looked at a 9-hour reduction at the rec center overall for the natatorium, a 14-hour, no changes to the frog pond, an 8-hour reduction for branch connection, and then a 4-hour reduction for the library. So, and how we came to some of this, the new hours was looking at the usage at all these facilities to see where we had our low usage, and it was really dependent on staff and their interactions with the residents and the patrons to kind of come up with, and we feel this is the least impactful to to our overall schedule. I will say we've had a few questions on the branch connection. We recommended a schedule of 8 to 1 on the Friday, and we might adjust that a little bit. There's some activities on Fridays afternoons that we might have to, it would still stay within the 8-hour reduction, but we might have to modify that a little bit. But other than that, I think, and we are working with LS on the library contract, and the budget that's put forward, we're actually working also on an updated contract with LS&S with a 4-hour reduction as well. So you'll see that reduction to them as well.
Yep, thanks. And I was just going to ask if it'd be possible to include this in the budget presentation. I've had residents asking about these new hours because, they participate in various classes early in the morning before school and whatnot. So it might just be helpful for them to realize that their classes are really not being lost in that way. So
Absolutely. We can update our materials for that.
the other thing I'd like to just follow up on is the Brother Eddie Fountain at the corner of Valley View and Webb Chapel. Is that going to be modified, adjusted? I was kind of hoping to leave it as is, but I know there was some discussion about that.
My understanding is Parks is still researching it. We found another dedication in there that we can't find any history for. So there's a rock that has somebody else's name on it. We're trying to find the history of those interactions with the city. And so Parks is researching that. There won't be any action until we can bring it back to council with a complete picture.
Okay, so the budget's not affecting
No.
the
We don't have enough
removal
information.
or anything of that?
Correct.
Okay. And similarly, just to follow up and close the loop on the community garden, I know there was discussion about reducing some of the costs and fees or increasing fees for the community garden. Where does that stand as it relates to the budget overall? I know.
Let Rob grab that one.
At this point, what's included in the budget is the paying for the water, which I know that was discussed, and the supplies and staffing that we had. We've reduced that as part of the budget process, but we are paying for the water.
Okay.
That's still in there.
Okay, so the community garden's not going away. We're going to continue to pay the water.
And that was the
reduce some
biggest
of the staff
expense
work.
with it. Yeah, trying to reduce some of the exposures we have in there, but the water's still there, and that's the biggest part of the budget.
Okay. Yeah. As far as the Citizens Collection Center, you mentioned about closing that. Is there an opportunity to just try a different location, maybe a scaled down version? Some residents are expressing their desire to keep and maintain that. Did we explore an option of alternate location or reduced something?
Not at this time because the space and the way it is, the way it's laid out, we don't have that kind of space just readily available and to be able to maintain it in a secure way as well. So we just don't have a spot for a different type of operation at that point in time.
Okay. Yeah. And I know our target had been 3 cents for quite a while there. I'd still like to see if we could squeeze something out here, but that's kind of what I have at the moment. Yeah, I think I'm okay.
Thank you. Councilman Roman?
So to be clear, for the community garden, water is included, supplies are included, and you say, no, not supplies?
No.
Okay.
And just to be, we'll probably have a transition process to move the community garden to where they can be somewhat self-sufficient. So, and we'll work with that group to make sure it's not going to be a heavily defined. But the water is something that will be expensed in the budget. We'll continue. We already pay that bill, and we'll continue to do that, and that's in the budget. All the other items, we will work with the group to facilitate how they can possibly purchase a lot of items on their own and manage the garden on their own.
Okay. And you mentioned, did I hear you say reduction of some staff?
No.
Okay.
No.
At the community garden?
Well, when you mean, it's just not going to be part of our, I mean, at some point, we will turn that garden over to the volunteers that are manning the garden. It's on the church property right now. So, really, we would just let them facilitate, keep the garden going, and then we would pay for the water. So the typical, what we've been doing is we routinely go out and do some maintenance at the garden and things like that. We would phase that to where it would be the volunteers taking care of a lot of that work.
Okay. So am I hearing that as the transition happens, staff will continue to be involved, but over time, that's going to sort of
Correct.
go away? Okay.
Correct.
I think that's it for now. I know we have a meeting coming up where I have some questions there, but I think that's it for now.
Thank you. Councilman Reed?
No, I'm good. I've had questions answered.
Thank you. Councilman Baird?
What is the savings on the Citizen Collection Center if we were to close that?
I don't have that in front of me right now. I'll have to
Can we get
that
back to
answer
that?
to you.
Can we come
Yeah.
back? Okay.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Councilman Jackson?
Thank you, Tammy. I know it's been a lot of work, so thank you for all your hard work with the budget. I'll just echo Councilman Neal's comments. I think it's going to be important communication-wise for residents to understand where these changes were made. And so I think that very clearly in one column or on one page, here's how the city is being responsible with tax dollars, amenities, finding efficiencies, and equating, that to, some amounts. Like the Citizens Collection Center saves us X thousand dollars a year, whatever it is. I think that needs to be clear in our communication. The hours impact at various facilities. So that's all. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Tammy, thank you for the report. Sorry to be rushing here,
No,
but
that's perfectly fine.
I want to get to one item real quick. So I'm going to we're going to break for dinner here, but before we do, I'm going to read in item D1, which is executive session. The city council will convene into closed executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.071 for the purpose of seeking confidential legal advice from the city attorney regarding the Firehouse Theater facility use agreement. Let's take a break to go get food. We can come back in and then get our briefing.